following information is presented for discussion and educational purposes only and is not intended or provided as treatment information for any specific person or behavior. If you or a loved one is having behavioral difficulties, you are encouraged to seek professional consultation as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 22 of Ask the Behavior Doctors. My name is Dr. Jacob Boney, and I'm here in Scottsdale, Arizona at Scottsdale Pediatric Behavioral Services. We're here today answering your questions. So our question comes from a dad, and it says, Dr. Jacob, I'm wondering if my 7-year-old son and my 8-year-old daughter could benefit from playing sports. Do you think I should make my kids do sports, even if they don't seem that interested? What kind of behaviors could we target and work on through sports participation? So I get this sports question a lot from parents. And as many of you know, many of my patients do have special needs. Many of my patients do not have special needs. Some of them are very high functioning, just have some kind of behavioral issues. But I get this question from a mix of parents. And I had a passion, or still have a passion, for sports psychology, something I originally studied. So I love sports. I absolutely see the value in sports. I think there are things you can learn in sports that you could never learn in a classroom or never learn anywhere else, really. So I always encourage parents to consider pursuing sport participation for children. I think it develops another set of skills in a different way than other types of activities can. Team sports allows for socialization and the development of character skills and lessons that are difficult to replicate in a classroom or in a playground. Specifically, sports can help children learn about adversity, physical limitations, humility, perseverance, teamwork, camaraderie, trusting and depending on others, patience, learning from failure, and accepting responsibility for one's role and influence on the group. These skills are critical, and they're useful to have in the workforce, too. I can't really think of one good reason why it wouldn't be helpful and appropriate for a child to eventually be exposed to these skills in some way, shape, or form. So again, I definitely encourage team sport participation. I say team sport. A lot of sports, especially at the youth age, are team sports. There are individual sports one can get into for sure. I think that socialization aspect, especially for young children, is really important. So I would consider, for a super young child, definitely considering that team sport first. Once they kind of learn the basics of sports, learn the basics of competition, and learn to be competitive, then I think that individual sport component makes more sense later. Team sport participation can and should be an ego and self-esteem boosting activity. I've heard this argument that kids these days have too high of a self-esteem and they're complimented too much and all of this stuff. I'm just telling you from a clinical perspective, when I see a confident kid that is able to regulate themselves and manage their behaviors effectively, I see a healthy, happy healthy, happy child typically. Now, when someone's ego or self-esteem is so sensitive that it can be bruised or wilted with any kind of criticism, well, then that's a problem for sure. So I think, again, if you're overpraising a child to a point that they have an unrealistic sense of themselves and can't take any type of corrective feedback, then I certainly see the issue there. But I don't think it's ever a bad thing for a child to have a healthy, well-developed sense of self, sense of confidence about themselves and the skills they have. Children should gain more confidence in themselves and their skills when playing sports to face adversity, manage stress, and overcome perceived obstacles. That's what life's about. We want children to have those skills. We want them to be able to deal with adversity. We want them to know their true limitations. We want them to be able to push themselves and challenge themselves. Sports has a great way of doing that. So again, definitely I encourage parents to have their children participate in sports. What I wanted to point out was, I want to point out some things for you to do as a parent to maximize your child's benefit from sport participation. So the first thing, do your homework when selecting the league. Some leagues are a lot more competitive than others. Some leagues are a lot less competitive. If your child's really young and you're not sure how they're going to respond to that sense of competition, you might want to seek a league that's a little bit more about participation and character development at first. Now, when your child's shown some initial skills, some real initial interest in the sport, and they seem to have a healthy sense of self and ego, and you feel like they can take on that sense of competition, then that's something you can certainly pursue later down the road. We're talking about an initial introduction to sport. I definitely think that participation and character development is an important route to go, and one I would definitely recommend for a younger child. Ask other parents about their experience with the league and certain coaches. Word of mouth referrals can be very helpful. Learn from their experience. Don't try and learn the hard way. See, what kind of leagues these other kids were in. See what the parents' experience with the coach was. See if the children really enjoyed participating, enjoyed going to practice, enjoyed playing the games. Definitely ask around. Meet the coach and make sure they are trained and experienced working with children who are the same age and maturity level as yours. I cannot emphasize this enough. A lot of times parents will become coaches. Let's say their son or daughter is on the team and they'll coach the team. That's great, and you can get some terrific coaches that way, but that alone is not a qualification to be a coach. Trust me. I do professional parenting consultation for a living, and I've seen many parents who, yes, are parents, but are not in any way, shape, or form qualified to be a coach of children. You have to have special skills. You do have to have a special perspective, and you need a very specific set of skills in your repertoire to have to do a really good job coaching young children. Like I said, that emphasis is on fun, is on development, skill development, and character development. The emphasis early on should not be on winning, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So just real quick, you can ask and see if the coach has a certificate. You can ask to see if they've ever attended any special type of training. Typically, there are many types of coaching training where they will issue some type of certificate, and just see if they're credentialed by the league that they're participating in. Most leagues have taken a real definitive step in the right direction by making all coaches get a minimal level of credentialing. It's not professional credentialing by any means, but it's at least basic qualifications and basic training that make sure that they all have helpful skill sets when coaching and teaching young children. Find a sport and league that allows your child to have a healthy schedule balance. Sometimes I see parents jump headfirst into this and they don't really know how intense to go with the sport participation. I think at first it's good to have your child have a balance, meaning they should have practice, they should have games, but they also should have time to socialize with their friends, hang out with their family. They certainly should be not so fatigued they can't do anything else. They certainly should not be getting injured. They certainly should not be engaging in things that indicate a burnout effect. You want your child to really enjoy the sport, but you do want them to have balance. I encourage parents to pick some target behaviors that you want to work on in the sport. So these things could be following coach's directions, having a positive attitude after a loss, or talking to at least 3 teammates during a practice. The reason I want you to do these target behaviors is I want your child to know, some things that they're trying to build on, or some things you're trying to help them work on. Doing this too emphasizes things beyond just winning. Remember, sports is valuable for many reasons, and being able to practice a unique skill set while doing the sport is an important opportunity. So again, pick these behaviors, look for your child to do them, and then praise and shape those behaviors with verbal praise, physical touch, any kind of positive reinforcement. That's going to help your child know that these things are important to you and that these skills are critical. Discuss and support the life lessons of the sport. I want you to have conversations with your child about learning from losses, trying hard in the face of adversity, setting and achieving goals. All of these things are critical. Processing this stuff with your kid before and after. So obviously doing it preventatively, not doing it just in response to a tough loss, but doing it routinely throughout their participation in the sport can really send that message home, and letting them know that there are things they're doing and learning that are well beyond just winning. Again, emphasizing winning should not be the point, especially for a young sport participant. Make the focus of the sport on fun and skill improvement, not on winning. Okay? Winning is outside of your child's control. There are many things that affect winning. There are many factors that affect whether a team wins or not. Your child could be a phenomenal athlete, really improving their skill level, and their team may not even win. So again, I don't want your child to get focused or frustrated on things that they can't manage or control. Remember, improving skill, having fun, and making progress in those goals should be the real emphasis. Be a great example as a parent. I want you to be positive. I want you to show respect towards the coaches and the refs, whether they win or lose. I don't want you to make excuses, and I don't want you to analyze the negative parts of your child's performance. Just look for the positive, look for the good. Praise your child, reinforce the things that you did see out there, and just make sure that they have a good experience. Remember, you're trying to teach your child that sports are valuable, that sport participation is valuable beyond just winning and losing, and that they're gaining skills that are helpful and unique to that experience. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end for today. I want to thank you for submitting these questions. I want to encourage you to please continue to submit these questions to us at info@scottsdalepbs.com. I want to thank our photographer, Mr. Philip Carnevale at philipcarnevalephotography.com. And again, I want to thank you for submitting those questions and for joining us here at Scottsdale Pediatric Behavioral Services and Ask the Behavior Doctors.